Here we have the 40 steps. These were built about 1850 to allow access down to the Western Esplanade. Previously, if you wanted to enjoy the fresh air down at the river's edge, you had to go through the bar gate and walk all the way round, or you could go through one of the gates in the notorious old town nearby. But the likes of Jane Austen in her finery would not want to go through this part of town. It was full of crime and prostitution, and had already had reports made saying that the place was unfit for humans to live in. You wouldn't want to go there if you were a stranger. So they built the 40 steps for people to enjoy the fresh air of Southampton in the boom and spa town period, which lasted about 80 years. From about 1705, when the spring was discovered and the pump room built nearby. The spring itself, the fountain, was on the site of the entrance to Waterstone's bookshop. Next to that was the Royal Victoria Rooms. I've just seen the, is that the mayor or somebody dressed in period costume, and some Morris dancers. So here we are. This is the western walls. This is Catchcold Tower, one of the very first towers in England to be built especially to house cannon. There we can see one of the keyhole gun ports. One cannon would have been placed in that tower and pivoted round as it was needed. All this is reclaimed land in the 1920s. Originally the wine ships would have come almost right up to the walls here. Nearby was the West Quay. Just further down from here was the King's own personal quay, the Castle Watergate Quay. And this area would have been a hive of activity throughout our history, with all the ships coming in, unloading their barrels of wine, leaving with English sheep's wool. Looks like we've got some Morris dancers going to be starting in a moment. That's Erendor Tower, one of the oldest towers in the walls. Has arrow slits, so it shows it was built before gunpowder was invented. And let's walk down towards the area where the French raid took place. On the 4th of October 1338, a combined fleet of French, Spanish and Genoese pirates and mercenaries arrived here in a fleet of 50 ships. There was a gap in the wall where you can see the part of the old wall with arches in it. This is known as the arcades, and before the raid there was a gap there where the merchants had their stone houses. They didn't want a wall in front of their houses hampering the unloading of their ships, so they left a big gap there. And what happens when invaders come to a place with a big hole in the wall? They run through the hole in the wall. So Southampton was burnt to the ground. People who didn't run away were massacred. There's stories of people being strung up in their own doorways. The congregation of St Michael's was massacred inside the church. Blood was spilt. The church had to be reconsecrated. And the mercenaries went on the rampage for 24 hours. The militia reportedly ran away. We had a garrison of 15 knights up at Southampton Castle, which seems a small number, but when you realise that castles were designed to be defended by as few knights as possible, because knights are expensive, labour is expensive, so the fewer knights they had in the castle, the cheaper it was to run. The militia was made up of various trade guilds. So here we could see Castle House flats on the site of Southampton Castle. Here's the castle watergate, where the king's ships would arrive. Barrels of wine would be unloaded into the vaults either side of the gate here, and the king or queen would be walking all the way up to the steps of the castle up on the hill there. So the French raiders burnt the town to the ground, stole the king's wine out of the vaults, stole the town silver and all the seals from the wool trade, which were very valuable because they were the king's seals, and they would to prove that tax had been paid on the sacks of wool. So the following morning, the militia that had run away had regrouped, came back with the garrison from Corfe Castle in Dorset, and they took the town back, killing 300 of the invaders. One of the invaders was the Prince of Sicily, and he was fighting with an illiterate peasant who was armed with a club, and whilst I spotted see Southampton members up on the wall there. So the completely lost my thread now, thanks Pete. Something to do with the French raid and the after the raid. Oh no, Prince of Sicily, there we go. Prince of Sicily fighting with a illiterate peasant with a club, and the peasant was fighting with this Prince of Sicily, and the prince shouted "Rancon" as he was losing, and Rancon means "take me for ransom." But the peasant didn't understand this, and he thought he said Francon, meaning French, and he said, "Yes, thou art Francon," and he clubbed him to death. And that was the end of the Prince of Sicily.